My name's Barbara Lackey, and I serve on the Henderson County Heritage Museum Board of Directors. I'm going to speak to you today about the Edneyville community. Edneyville is the oldest community in Henderson County. There was people living in Edneyville in the early 1700s. Edneyville is named for Asia and Samuel Edney. They were Methodist ministers, and they rode their horses, preaching the gospel and starting new Methodist ministers far and near. Today we have two active Methodist churches that they started in Edneyville, Edneyville Methodist and Fruitland Methodist. We also have an Episcopal church, and we've got many different Baptist churches. Before public education, the churches were responsible for educating the children. And 10 teachers from St. Paul Episcopal Church walked over and asked my grandfather, Andrew Lyda, if they might board with him. Well, they just had a little simple church, and he had 3 children, but he saw that as a way of making money. So he said, yes, I'll add on 10 rooms. So he went to Hendersonville, to the Bennett Lumber Company, and bought enough lumber to build the beginning of Beehive Inn. He had 10 rooms, 2 bathrooms and 1 shower, a dining room and kitchen, the parlor, and a broad front porch. And on this front porch, he had 100 hives of honeybees. And the guests did not like the honeybees. So grandmother had him to move the honeybees around to the back, and there was a nice little rock ledge that they could sit on. And that was the beginning of Beehive Inn. Right around St. Paul Church, there was many inns sprang up. We had the Edney Inn, we had the Flack Hotel, we had the Beehive Inn, the Chickasaw Inn, the Recreation, and the Slip Rock Inn, all right around that St. Paul Episcopal Church area. Now that was 10 miles out of town. But the real estate agents were calling, build more accommodations, we need more accommodations. And we had the train that had come in 1879, and the tourists could be here in a day on the train. And Granddaddy would meet the train with his wagon and 2 horses and bring the guests out with their luggage, and they would stay all summer. Word had gotten out that Henderson County was cool and the people were kind, and they could stay all summer at a reasonable price and go home after Labor Day. Doctors told people that had consumption that the mountain air was very healing. So a lot of people came that were sick. The churches took over the education of the children before the state of North Carolina took over the education. And that was the beginning of Beehive. It was the golden age. Everything just seemed to click together, and money could be made. Everything was at a boom. And then we had 1929, when we had the bust and the Big Depression. So on top of Jump Off Mountain, the hotel was never finished, and the toilets and the equipment just lay on the grass. It was never finished. At Edneyville, on St. Paul Road, when the school started, they just walked out and left Edneyville School empty. And people began, gangs got to motorcycles coming in there on the weekend, shooting guns. And I called up Larry, Justice, and Raleigh. And I said, Larry, we're going to have to do something about this empty school. Somebody's going to get killed there. We're going to have a murder in our neighborhood. And he said, well, thank you, Barbara. I know what to do with that. And so he knew that they'd been talking about building a new police academy in the western part of the state, because it took an officer a day to get down there, and it took that officer a day to get back home. Well, that's 2 days' pay for an officer to go to class one day. And that is how we got the police academy, the Larry T. Justice Police Academy at Edneyville. And later, we got the crime scene investigation building on St. Paul Road, Edneyville. I want to talk to you a minute about the apple industry. Henderson County, Edneyville is the largest apple producing place in Henderson County. And Henderson County is the largest apple producing county in the state. And North Carolina is the 7th largest apple producing state in the nation. At Edneyville, apple is king. We give William Mills credit for being the father of the apple industry. He lived there in the early 1700s, and as he found little apple seedlings, he would plant them in rows around his house, much like the beginning of an apple orchard. And the soil was good for growing apples. And today we have Greg Nixie's apple packing facility, modern equipment, cold storage facility, and he can broker apples year-round. The Apple Festival is always Labor Day weekend. We have over 300,000 guests come for the Apple Festival on Main Street and to visit the orchards and take apples home with them. This year we didn't get to have our Apple Festival due to the COVID virus, and we are hoping for better times next year, and we'll get to have our Apple Festival again. and I thank you very much.